Today, more than 11 million people are living in the United States illegally. California is #1. So what are the mistakes people make if they are here illegally? Andres Mejer knows firsthand. He came here 38 years ago from Israel, overstayed his visa, and today he's a U.S. attorney and has been practicing immigration law for the past 15 years. Welcome. You've got quite a story.
Thank you very much. It's more interesting than the telling.
So you wrote this book, and it really is a self-help book, isn't it?
Correct. So what happened is I would give seminars at churches, always in Spanish, and I would always get a version of, do I qualify if? So I took those questions and I made it in a book form. It's 9 principal paths to achieve legal status.
But what are the mistakes that people continually make, though, if they are here and they know that they are here illegally? Well, you came here when you were 6 and you
Correct.
didn't know.
I did not know. I didn't know I was not a U.S. citizen. I went to school, but I was given an option to achieve legal status thanks to President Reagan. But the 5 critical mistakes that immigrants make, well, the first one is, I call it Rihanna's regrets. That's where you have a little too much to drink, you come home, maybe it's 2 a.m., you argue with your spouse, next thing you know, the police gets called and you're charged for domestic violence, and now the government's going to want to deport you because you're a criminal.
You want to stay under the radar.
Correct.
Okay.
So the goal is to avoid problems.
And so you don't want to have any DUIs. You don't want domestic situations.
Correct.
What are some of the other ones, the mistakes that people are making?
So I was reading an article just today about a woman named Alexandra. She was driving a vehicle, didn't have a license. She had DACA, but it had expired. Officer pulls her over because it sees the license plates that the license was expired. Pulls her over. She gets nervous. She lies, gives a false name, gets arrested. Now she's facing removal proceedings for what? At the end of the day, not having a license. And at the moment, she gave a wrong name because she got pressured. And then she ultimately was deported from the United States. She had been here for 22 years.
So that is the biggest fear then, isn't it?
Yes. If
you are caught.
Correct.
And so what do you recommend, because you are an immigration lawyer, to those who might be facing a deportation? What advice do you give to them so that they don't reach that point?
Well, first, find an immigration attorney wherever you're at, wherever you're located. Find out what your options are. There are many of them. Of the 11 million undocumented immigrants, over 30% of them qualify for something today. The majority of them just don't know it. You got to find out. And if you're married to a U.S. citizen, or if your parents have legal status, get started, because almost assuredly you have a path to achieve legal status.
But is that some of the mistakes that people make, that because I know somebody here, I have legal status, or I've married somebody, I have legal status, etc. So, you know, these kind of misconceptions.
Yes. You mentioned the first 3. Domestic violence, driving under the influence, driving without a license. The 4th is really more akin to what happened to 21 Savage. He was detained by ICE, and only after being detained did he pursue legal status, and he filed for a U visa petition. It cost him $100,000 to get out of immigration detention. Most immigrants can't do that. They don't have those means. Now, he qualified for that years before, but he didn't know, or he didn't investigate. At the end of the day, he was only 23, 24, so he didn't know.
Yeah, and if you're standing in front of a Judge Judy type,
yeah,
you know, I didn't know isn't going to cut it.
It's not going to, particularly in this climate. So years ago, you go in front of the judge, Your Honor, I didn't know, the judge might give you time. Today, depending where you're at, there are certain courts in the country, they're not going to give you any time.
Yeah.
Those days are gone.
You lucked out.
I did. So me and my family, we were fortunate because in 1986, President Reagan passed amnesty. Actual amnesty. Nothing that's been discussed in the past 30 years or even being discussed today is amnesty. President Reagan said, you're here before this date, you can file for become a lawful permanent resident or a green card holder. And that's what my family did. So I was fortunate. I was blessed. Because today I'm a U.S. citizen. I was able to go to college. I was able to go to law school. And now I'm able to help other immigrants avoid the mistakes that we made, because we made a lot of them.
Yeah, well, it's a how-to book. Thank you. Do you qualify for U.S. legal status? It's on Amazon.
Yes.
Andres, pleasure to meet you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.